Nostalgia takes a smooth turn, electrifying power. A nostalgia racer who collects everything but dust, and street rodding blossoms in springtime. We never get tired of imagining the future, but it would have been hard for anyone in 1934 to imagine that about 20 years down the road there would be television, and that in 60 years your car would look and run better than ever on a television show called Rod. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Probst and welcome to this issue of Rod, the hottest form of street rod entertainment you'll find anywhere, so just sit back and enjoy the ride. With each spring comes a new crop of street rods. People get those winter projects finished and get excited by a new season of rod and custom shows. Well, spring comes early to Southern California, and rodders know how to take advantage of it. The Good Guys' 5th Spring Rod and Custom Nationals, held the second weekend of April at the Pomona, California Fairplex, drew thousands of rodders and almost 2,000 rods, despite the cool, wet, and windy weather that marked the beginning of the show.
A little wet out today.
The gray day didn't stop TCI from warming everyone's spirits with their annual kickoff party for their customers and for all Good Guys participants. A few hundred rodders parked themselves for an evening of great food, great friends, and a look at some new projects. Saturday morning brought more rain, but it seemed that April showers brought street rodders. And when the sky opened up and the sun came out, the weather got warm and the Fairplex blossomed with rods. Boyd Coddington and his cars had center stage at the event. A host of Boyd's finest creations were gathered for a special tribute to one of street rodding's master craftsmen. The cars displayed represented a group of trend-setting cars of the past 10 years. Also displayed in the indoor show were nearly 200 cars gunning for the Sweet 16 Boyd's Pros Pick Awards. Some legendary race cars were also housed indoors. Standouts included the Al Marsalis Winged Express, Rich Guasco's Pure Hell Fuel Altered, and a gathering of nostalgia dragsters. Also on display were the Pearson Brothers Coupe, the late Jim Ewing Suede Studebaker, and other Bonneville and Dry Lakes bombers. Sunday, the crowd couldn't have asked for more than the sunny Southern California day. Gas coupes and sedans of all types got together for the Gasser Gathering, and the rest of the fairgrounds was filled with street rods and customs of all styles. The great variety at a Good Guys event is always evident. Just take a look at some of the Spring Nationals Award winners. Jim DeZane took Rodder's rep with his 32 Highboy. Ted Jones in his '40 Ford won Cool Convertible. The Eagle One Award was presented to Jim Kilpatrick for his '36 Ford. And Ernie Belger's 60 Olds was the custom rodder pick. It just goes to show you that rain or shine, events like Pomona will draw some excellent cars and a large group of people from the growing number of street rodders. The good guys definitely know how to keep the good times rolling with some of the hottest cars and most enjoyable shows, and the Spring Nationals are just the beginning of another great year of good guys, good times. Well, nostalgia is a part of every street rod, and it's that nostalgia that draws more and more people into the sport every day. But when it comes to nostalgia, there are some people who don't limit themselves to just street rods. For Steve Castelli, racing has always been closest to his heart. But the man with the world's fastest street rod has a true passion for collecting.
My gas station collectible hobby started probably when I was in high school. When I worked in a mobile station, a flying A station, and a signal station. I liked all the stuff then. I kind of let things go by the wayside, and I went to school, I started my businesses, and I had a pump here or there, and it would buy it and I'd sell it, and then I got into the cars pretty heavy, and I thought, well, I had to have a few gas pumps in between my cars to display some of the things, and I restored a mobile gas pump, and I restored a flying A pump, and then I started, you always see things at the car swap meets, and boy, I got to have that too, so I started collecting cans, then I started collecting gas globes and signs, and I couldn't stop. I'm just out of control. I gotta have it. Every time I see a sign, I gotta have it. The whole building is lit with neon, other than the light bulbs are in a few gas pumps and in the gas globes, so it gives you multiple colors, and then you get all the reflections off all the multiple colors of the signs. It's, I like it. I love it. All this stuff is history. It really is history, and it's enjoyable to find out where it came from, and then after you acquire it, it's kind of fun to go look for something else. It's fun to restore it and put it in the building and display it so that people can see it and I can enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun with that. But the fun is, I think, is in the search, looking for something. Hearing about an old abandoned gas station and the people took all the stuff home and put it in their chicken house or their garage or a storage place, and going in there and letting the guy open the door, and there's all this good stuff, you know, and it's all for sale, and I like it. It just goes on and on and on. You can't, there's hundreds of different companies, because a lot of companies were started small and were bought up, and then they went on to another company, and Mobil Oil bought up a lot of local companies. I mean, there was a lot of signal stations, a lot of Richfield stations around this area, and of course now they're all gone. Now they're out in my building. I collected them. I saved it. I have at least 30 projects going on at one time. Probably more, because some things you're waiting to get some chrome done, or you're waiting for something to be stripped. Like when I get a gas pump, you have to take it apart and you have to take it down to the stripping place or have it sandblasted, and then you have to have some of the chrome done, or if it needs chrome, or you're waiting for the reproduction faces to get done. So instead of just waiting and doing one pump at a time, I might do, in fact, I'm probably doing 6 or 7 gas pumps right now at one time. I don't want to grow up. I like it just right where I am. I like playing with the toys, and it's, to me, the racing, everything is all toys. I mean, it's all involved. It keeps you young. It's enjoyable. My whole family likes it. If you ask me what was the best, if I had to give all my toys up and keep one toy, what would I keep? I probably would keep one of the toys that I had when I was a kid. But I mean, as far as a favorite toy, and gas pump and signs, I like it all. That's why I have so much of it. There's so much variety. I mean, if a person wants to collect just one model of a truck, like a Smith Miller truck or a Buddy L truck, it's not like you can collect 5 or 6 trucks. In Buddy L trucks, there's probably over 100 different ones. And it's going to take a lot of searching to find half of them, let alone all of them. And then you got to be able to afford them too. A lot of trucks are priced, and you know, they're on their rarity, they're priced accordingly. And then it's always fun to find one at a deal. I mean, that's human nature, you know. I mean, you want to find something cheap. We can always pay, but it's always fun to find one at a deal. And you run around and tell all your friends, boy, look at this, I got this for. And then you got to lie to them a little bit, tell them you paid half of what you really paid for it. Then they makes them feel bad. Because they do it to you, so you got to do it to them. All the collecting and all the restoring, when it comes time to race Hot Rod Willys, that all stops. That Hot Rod Willys comes first.
One of the greatest things about collectors like Steve is that they preserve parts of our history for future generations. Street rodders preserve the past as well by bringing their dream cars to life. With the right vision, a street rodder can echo a time gone by and make a contemporary statement all at once. Sometimes a car is thought out so well that every element fits just right. Grant Pavolka's all-steel 34 Ford shows what this is all about. A super smooth rod with a traditional look and high-tech components end to end, this coupe helps define the word slick. The Black Rose 3-window was originally rodded in the 60s. Years later, it ended up in Canada and then sat untouched for about 5 years. Grant acquired the car in 1991 and proceeded to have it completely rebuilt. He sold the original undercarriage and engine to another rodder who took on his own project with a new glass body. The modifications on this sleek body begin with the 2 3/4-inch chop and a smooth cowl and door handles. A flawless NOS 34 Ford grille and a custom 3-piece hood by Brad Hadman finish off the front end. A custom gas door, recessed rear license plate housing, and French 39 taillights round out the back. The interior of this beautiful coupe is covered with rich leather and Mercedes wool. The custom dash, fabricated by Brad Hadman, houses VDO night design instruments. An overhead console controls all the key functions: interior lights, headlights, turn signals, door latch indicators, power window switches, wipers, and even the starter. Vintage air conditioning and a state-of-the-art sound system with a Sony 10-disc CD make the ride all the more enjoyable. The all-steel 3-window sits on a 34 TCI chassis. The detailed engine compartment features a 92 Chev HO 350 body color block, a polished Edelbrock dual quad manifold with 500 CFM carburetors and Pro Car headers. The transmission, also painted to match the exterior, is a 350 turbo with a 2800 RPM stall converter. The chassis features an independent polished stainless steel TCI suspension with TCI coilovers up front, and a 9-inch Ford with TCI polished stainless 4-bar and Alden coilover shocks in the rear. Rack and pinion steering and Willwood 11-inch discs with polished calipers and brake lines keep things under control. A set of real wheels lends a traditional look to this rod, and the use of polished stainless from the bumpers to the 15-gallon gas tank really sets it off. Deltron Black Rose paint applied by John Byers provides a smooth and subtle finish. It's easy to see how dedication to clean, smooth lines and attention to detail make this rod a dream come true. That 34 shows how traditional and high-tech concepts can really come together to make a street rod that's more than just the sum of its parts. Congratulations, Grant, on a super smooth rod. Well, often when it comes to performance, it's the little things that count. Of course, it doesn't hurt to have a 500 cubic inch big block, but to make the most of any power plant, you gotta keep the small items under your thumb.
Drag racers have known for years that examining your spark plugs can give you an idea of what's going on inside your engine. The lost art of reading the plugs can tell you why your engine is making power or making pieces. During its lifetime, a spark plug has to fire millions of times under extreme conditions. Combustion chamber temperatures can reach over 5,000 degrees. Under power, a plug can be exposed to this punishment over 20 times a second. A spark plug that is firing correctly under ideal engine conditions should look like this one. A light brownish color with a few ash deposits and some electrode wear is normal. If the porcelain on the insulator is extremely white, you may have a lean fuel condition. Otherwise, this is a remove and replace reading. If you pull a plug that looks like this one, you're probably running too rich, or too fat as the old-timers like to call it. If these dry carbon deposits are only on this plug, suspect a faulty plug wire or the plug itself. If all the plugs are black, you need to adjust your fuel mixture. A lot of Probst readers will recognize this plug. Pump gas doesn't have the octane rating to run those weekend warrior engines anymore, so octane boosters and other additives get us by. These normally will stain your plugs a reddish color. These plugs should be replaced and not cleaned. If you pull a plug that looks like this, you probably have something in your cylinder besides air and fuel. In extreme cases, detonation can cause this, but most likely Mr. Spark Plug has met Mr. Piston. The higher the compression ratio, the higher the voltage that it takes to jump the gap to the electrode. Make sure that your plug is gapped correctly. With aftermarket ignitions, you might be able to open up the gap a couple of thousandths to get a bigger spark. To make the most of the spark, we're going to index our spark plugs to each cylinder. To do this, we're going to mark the electrode position on the plug with an ink pen, not a pencil. A pencil mark can act as a carbon track and actually short the plug. Snug up the plug looking at the electrode position. The desired position is for the gap to face the center of the cylinder. To position this plug, we're going to use an index washer available from almost any speed shop. It's faster than swapping the plugs from hole to hole. Keep using thicker or thinner washers until you get the plug to fit just right. Again, with the gap facing the center of the cylinder. We mark this position on our demonstrational head. We'll mark this location on all cylinders on our engine. Use a spark plug socket when installing spark plugs. Regular deep sockets don't have the rubber insert to support the plug like a spark plug socket has. If you use regular sockets, you can potentially crack the porcelain, especially in tight areas around headers. When installing spark plugs in aluminum heads, use a little anti-seize on the threads so you can remove the plugs without a breaker bar the next time. Always start the plug by hand. If the engine is hot, slip a piece of fuel line over the tip of the plug. This will get your hand away from the engine when threading the plug. After tightening the new gapped plug, do a final check to make sure your electrode is in the indexed position. The spark plug gap may be small, but it is responsible for a large part of how your engine starts, idles, and performs under a load. Helping your plugs make maximum spark will help your engine to make maximum power.
As always, we appreciate your suggestions for tech tips. Keep them coming. Well, it's almost time to take a rod on the road, but first we have to hit a rest area and pick up some words of wisdom from that guru of pit stops, Dean Olson and the editor's desk.
Hi, I'm Dean Olson. This is the editor's desk. Today's topic is the ongoing war between high-tech and low-tech. Oh, I got some stats here that'll blow your mind. High-tech. My mother doesn't get it. Doesn't get it. You know she actually preheats the microwave? Yeah. She used to yell at me when I was a kid. Don't stand so close to the microwave. You'll get radiation and die. Well, gee, my food's in there. She's visiting one day, asked to borrow my phone, give her the cordless. She says, that gives you cancer. I said, Mom, you're talking about studies for cellular phones. This is safe. Here. And I poked her in the eye with the antenna. Oh, My dad one day is watching TV on his big butt, and he pushes the mute button on the remote. My mother walks in, sees the newscaster on the screen with the word mute underneath him. Oh, that's a shame. Look, he's trying so hard. My dad just gives me the look. 34 years, son. My dad's watching a football game Sunday morning. My mother's getting ready to go to church. She says, "Are you coming to church?" He sits there. No, I'll pray from here. You go ahead. You can't pray from a lazy boy. Oh, no? Watch this. Please give the TV announcer the gift of speech. Oh. Huh? Well, we're out of time. Today's topic, of course, was the ongoing controversy between high-tech and low-tech. I'm Dean Olson. This is the Editor's Desk.
Dean will never cease to amaze me. And you know, I think I got more useful information from the last hitchhiker I picked up. Thanks, Dean. Well, the ultimate test for any car is how well it handles the road. Few things are more enjoyable than getting behind the driver's seat and pouring on the Kool-Aid. But when you can't do that, well, it's time for the next best thing.
(1934) would be the first year that Ford Motor Company would turn a profit in several years. The now famous Model 40 V8 would launch Ford ahead of all other car makers in 1934, and we feel if the Model 40 sedans would have rolled off the assembly line anything like our test model, sales would have been even higher. Visual differences between the 33s and 34s are few and far between. Straight hood louvers instead of curved, 2 hood handles instead of 1, and a reshaped front grille are about it. Our test model is a 1934 steel body 2-door sedan with glass fenders. The 2-tone orange sedan has a 3-inch chop, filled roof and cowl vent, not to mention a French rear license plate and 39 Ford taillights. Visually, the Model 40 sedan was ahead of its time. Technically, it was a little far behind using a transverse spring suspension. Chevrolet already had an independent front suspension available in 1934, and when asked why Ford Motor Company didn't have one, a stubborn Henry Ford just told them that they used transverse springs for the same reason they used round wheels. They had found nothing better for the purpose. 60 years later, I think Henry Ford would approve of the modifications to our test model. Today, the sedan is fitted with a Mustang II independent front and a 4-bar coilover rear suspension mated to a progressive automotive frame. A Mustang rack does the steering, and Mustang II discs and 8-inch drums do the stopping. In '34, the roads were getting smoother and straighter, and America wanted to get there quicker and faster, so the flathead V8 got a new carburetor in 1934. The Stromberg 2-barrel replaced the old single-barrel Detroit lubricator unit, and a new intake manifold and a reshaped air cleaner pushed the power rating of the 221 cubic inch flathead to almost 90 horsepower and 150 foot-pounds of torque. Today, our test model sedan is fitted with an overhead valve power plant of a newer generation. A 350 cubic inch small block with an Edelbrock induction system and a turbo 350 transmission now propels the sedan. The 8-inch rear and Budnick wheels all the way around get this power to the pavement. With its modern suspension and late model power, this reborn sedan is definitely a long-distance cruiser. And to make sure the ride is comfortable, the interior is plumbed with air conditioning, power windows, AM/FM cassette, and video instrumentation. Restitched Hyundai seats support both driver and passengers. Arguably, the Model 40 was one of the greatest cars ever built by Ford, and with the modifications done to our test model, this '34 sedan is surely one of a kind. Originally, the 2-door was one of over 120,000 V8 sedans with an original price tag of $575. Today, this one-off 2-tone hot rod built by Denny Olson is worth just a little bit more. For our test model 34, it wasn't the smooth ride or the romp on the gas. It was the room inside that did it for us. This cruiser can fit 4 rodders comfortably for a jaunt across town or across the country. We found that this suicide door sedan can definitely scratch that street rod itch.
That was great. Where else can you find a car that looks like that after 60 years on the road? And talk about resale value. I guess quality is job one. All right, enough of these finished projects. Let's back up and take a trip to where literally thousands of street rods got their start. TCI Engineering.
TCI was founded by Ed Moss 20 years ago. We started with the Model A frame, and that's how we began our chassis. We currently are building IFS front suspensions, straight axle front suspensions, and a variety of what the industry is needed. We have currently a 17,000 square foot facility that we manufacture, produce, and ship all our products out of. A large part of the success of total cost involved engineering is the fact that we can sell the consumer anything from a bare frame to a single bolt if the consumer would like. We carry a tremendous variety of product line in the small parts, as we would call it. If a customer would like to buy a motor mount, a front or rear suspension, we have it. We're able to supply him with all the products that he needs to do it himself if he would like. We spend a tremendous amount of time of testing in our facility to build the highest quality product available. We do a lot of research, a lot of background on what the industry needs, and we try and bring our customers the best quality. When a customer orders a chassis, we define exactly what the customer needs. We go over it with him and make sure we got a very good handle on exactly what he is looking for and what he needs. And when we make the order, we specify exactly what the customer is required. At that point, we bring it into the production. When we start the order, we shape and form the rails, we box them, we grind them, get them ready to go in the fixture. This is the Model A fixture that we use to build the Model A frames. The Model A was built from 1928 to 1931. The one particular frame fits just about all the body styles except the pickup. The pickup was different, and it has a frame that's very similar, but the rear cross member is different. This is how TCI started building this type of frame and evolved into what we do today. This particular gentleman's been with TCI, or Total Cost Involved, for 15 years now. He's built himself probably 4,000 Model A frames over the years. This is a 1934 frame fixture. At this point, we start to put in all the center cross members. Everything's squared and straightened and welded in the fixture. Once they leave the fixture, they're put on a rotisserie. In the rotisserie here is where we put all the parts on that the customer has ordered. There's a variation of parts depending on what the customer wants. We install the motor mounts, the front suspension, rear suspension, all the bracketry required for the frame the customer has ordered. Once they put the brackets on the frame, they go from there into the grinding room, which I'll show you a little bit of here. This is the small parts welding room. In here we have 2 gentlemen that do nothing but weld the small parts. These parts either go on the shipping department shelves or they go onto the frames that we're currently building. This is the machine shop area of the production department. Right now this gentleman's currently machining some of the pedal assemblies that we're building. In this area we do the machining of the brake pedal assemblies, the anti-roll bars, the machining of the independent suspension arms. Everything is prepared for the welders prior to them getting it, so they can just put it in the fixture and weld it together. All the products are sub-assemblies. We have a department of TCI that assembles the rotors, calipers, and anything that we can put together prior to shipment. So when the customer gets it, he's able to bolt his chassis together completely with a minimal amount of time. One of the advantages that TCI has is that we are able to build complete cars, and at that time we were able to check the quality of the product that we sell, the installation, the final result of the inspections that we do. We feel in that respect it gives us the strength of the safety and quality that's required of a chassis manufacturer. There's a couple projects that we are just finishing. One would be a 32 Roadster, another would be a 32 three-window coupe. The coupe is a very high horsepower car with our Pro Street chassis, and enables us to give people that want that type of vehicle a safe and quality chassis. Total cost involved is very proud and gets its satisfaction from seeing the finished product of the cars out at the shows and the quality we've built, the reputation that we have of possibly 50% of the customer that we have now has bought from us in the past, and we have a lot of satisfaction and pride in quality of what we built. We enjoy the sport, and we work very hard at making it what it is today, and we hope that this is something that we'll be doing for a long time to come.
We'd like to thank Ed Moss and Sal Solorzano of TCI for letting us cruise through their shop for the afternoon. Keep up the good work, Sal. All right, time is getting tight. Now, for all you Rodders who've already sent in your photo or video for Rodders Rides, you're safe. You made it. We looked at everything. We loved it. We're going to use it. Now, for the rest of you, and you know who you are, I'm telling you, you better get a move on and send in those shots. You don't want to miss your chance to see your car on TV with all your fellow viewers. You don't just get this opportunity anywhere. Besides, do you want to listen to your brother tell you how great his car looked on TV and how yours didn't even make the deadline? All right, so to give you an idea of how cool your car could look, check this out. Well, it probably didn't take you too long to figure out the theme for that music video. Let's do everything we can to keep these great cars around for another 60 years. Well, that's going to do it for this issue of Rod. We hope you've enjoyed it. Now, before we go, we'd like to thank Tom Eggleston for swinging by in his super smooth 34. And Tom, if you ever need somebody to exercise this guy, just let me know. I'll be real careful. All right, the next issue of Rod is already in the works, so tell everyone you know to order up a copy today. That way we can all say Rod is TV my way. So long.
you want to get involved with these truly unique classifieds, just send the producers of Rod a photograph or video still of any rod or rod-related item you want to sell, trade, or purchase. You must include a text of 25 words or less, which includes your phone number along with a description of the item. The cost of this truly unique classified is only $24.95 for a 3-issue run. So get involved in what's sure to become the most popular trading post in the industry, the Rod Swap Shop. To order, just send your information and payment to Butler Video Productions, 14360 Southeast East Gateway, Bellevue, Washington, 98007.